Hello, welcome into Points in the Paint for February, whatever day this is, 16th,
16.
2022. I am Doug, he is Sam, and we are here tonight to chat a little NBA trade deadline because that was last week and a bunch of crazy stuff happened.
Yeah.
So let's work through this in kind of chronological order
Mm-hmm.
because there was a deal that went down kind of the day before everybody else, and I'd almost kind of forgotten about that one.
The Halibut or the Sabonis.
The McCollum trade.
Oh yeah. He went to the Pelicans,
Mm-hmm.
and the man. Who does the Pelicans get? Let me see if I can look that up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I
looking.
don't know if the who the Pelicans gave up to Portland. I don't think they gave up anybody big. I think it was just like draft picks and just players. I'm gonna look that one up. But yeah, there was so many. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was the one that I was like, oh, we're actually going to have a trade deadline this year because a lot of years they're just kind of dull or nothing really kind of happens.
Mm-hmm.
But this year it was this year they actually had some exciting stuff go on. So that was where things kind of kicked off um, with that, and then from there, obviously the big trade of kind of that final day was the Nets and the Sixers making that deal, sending Ben Simmons to Jersey, and then James Harden going back to Philly. Um, and I'll be quite honest, and I know Sam, you've got opinions on this too, but I'll be
Mm-hmm.
quite honest. I felt like the Nets fleeced Philly. Like they got so many good players and draft picks on top of it for James Harden. I thought they really took
Yeah.
advantage of them. I was really kind of surprised at how big of a haul they got for Harden.
So I'm looking at it now, and I just jumped on Wikipedia and I had to pull up all the NBA trades and go to that one. But yeah, I agree. But Nets got a lot, for James Harden. They got Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, backup big, Ben Simmons, obviously. And they got two first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's you got a shooter to spread the floor for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to attack, and then and for Ben Simmons to drive and just drive and with spacing, and then those first round picks, so that way you can use those picks for future trades. You can use that to build talent around your team. Um, Depending on where those picks are, if they're Philadelphia, they're probably going to be late first round picks. Looks like they got the 2022 Philadelphia first round pick, so it's probably going to be a bottom 10, 15 pick. But I mean, you can still find talent in the first round. Jimmy Butler, and other guys. But yeah, I agree. And I mean, James Harden, I feel like his stock has kind of dropped. Like you were on a championship caliber team, and then now you're going to Philadelphia, who maybe is not quite there, and there's not really a much, yeah, well, but yeah, I agree with you. I think the Nets definitely won that trade because I think Ben Simmons can play alongside Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and he could be a third option offensively, third or fourth option actually, and
Yeah,
still thrive in that playmaking role, setting up Kyrie, setting up Durant. So yeah,
yeah, and Seth Curry, who's no slouch either.
yeah,
You know, I mean, you don't even have to play Simmons in crunch time in the fourth quarter since he can't seem to make a clutch free throw. You
mm-hmm.
run Seth Curry out there, who's going to knock them all down, and that's a much better. You play offense for defense there. That's a really kind of better play there. So I really thought that the Nets really got the better end of that deal. I don't know. You're right. Harden hasn't looked like Harden in a while.
Mm-hmm.
His it's all based on motivation for him. If he thinks he's gonna, thinks it's gonna be a big night, or he thinks he's gonna, if there's something in it for him, he tends to play a little harder. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. And he's not the kind of guy that I would want to see, on the Bulls or something like that. He's not a guy.
No, definitely, no,
Yeah, he's not a
no.
guy I'd want on my team. Yeah, he's fun to watch. He'll put up a bunch of numbers, but when it comes down to the actual looking to win, he's not
Mm-hmm.
a guy I'd want on my squad.
I agree. So I actually went back and pulled up that CJ McCollum trade. Looks like Portland gave the Pelicans CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell, And then the Pelicans or the Portland got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Diddy Lauzuda, not sure who that is, Thomas Satoransky, a 2022 protected first-round pick, 2026 second-round pick, and 2027 Pelicans second-round pick. So the Blazers pretty much got back draft capital because I think the Blazers are probably approaching that stage. Remember, they're going to do a rebuild, and they're stockpiling draft picks. I mean, Josh Hart's solid, Satoransky, those are solid players if you're Portland, so you'll still be competitive. But I think Damian Lillard might be on his way out too, or whatnot. But yeah, I think the Trailblazers definitely won that pick. And if you're the Pelicans, Tony Snell's not really gonna do much for you. He never did much for the Bulls. Larry Nance Jr., he's solid, and CJ McCollum obviously. But I mean, Zion's out, so
exactly
until Zion gets back, I mean, even when he comes back, that's still not enough. You know, him, Brandon Ingram, and Zion's not enough. They're gonna need a couple more pieces. So the Pelicans are still building, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, but McCollum's a nice piece.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't see him because of the West Coast thing, but he's a guy that when the Bulls played them earlier this season, he was the guy that really was a thorn in their side. So he's a good piece.
And they do got Devontae Graham, who's a pretty good guard as well. So they have two nice guards, Zion, Brandon Ingram. So Larry Nance Jr. for athleticism. So the Pelicans have a nice young mid team, but they're still, a few years away from even being in the playoffs or whatnot. They might just be kind of like in Minnesota, just stuck in like that role or something, or Sacramento, like.
Yeah, that's just kind of just perpetually young, doesn't ever seem to get better.
Nope, get all the talent and surrounding. They're probably gonna end up trading Zion. I feel like Zion's not gonna finish his career in the Pelicans. He's gonna get traded. Yeah, I already know that. Just where.
Exactly.
Just a matter of where.
He's got eyes on a bigger market than New Orleans.
Yeah, it might be New York.
Yep, probably. Yeah, I could see him going to the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of young teams on the rise, the Cavs got even better, picking up Charis Levert.
Oh yeah.
From Indiana, and he's a guy who, he'll fit in nicely with that team. He can score the ball. That's a really good get for those guys. And then basically they gave up Ricky Rubio in a couple of seconds for him. So that was a good trade, I thought, for Cleveland.
One first rounder is Cleveland's, but I mean Cleveland got back Charis Levert, and Cleveland's got a really good team, and that's I agree, that's a really good pickup. As well. I mean, especially with the emerging big man Mobley, and then you still have those other guards. And then you still have Levert, who could slide over in a 3-year-old, and they play small ball. So they have like three good guards and young big. They got the guy that used to play for the Bulls, the foreign guy, Mark and so they
Lowry,
got Lowry. So they got Cleveland's definitely. The Central Division is going to be really tough, man, here in these next few years. Like Detroit, going to be competitive. Indiana's always competitive, but Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, it's like the NFC North.
yeah. The East is not going anywhere. I think they said the top 6 teams are all within like 3.5 games. At least they were a couple of days ago. They were all like within 3.5 games of one another, 3.5 or 4.5 games of one another. Like Stacey King was joking. He's like, you can't go on a 3-game losing streak. You'll go from 1st to 9th like that. So, you really have to kind of come out and play hard, on an every night, because you're going to get everybody's best effort every night because the East is so competitive. And even the down teams, then they see, they want to play spoiler. So we've seen that night in and night out with the Bulls, that they're just getting everybody's best effort, against them. Just seems to be that the younger teams, the Orlandos, the Oklahoma Cities, the Sacramentos, they're like, hey, we want to come out and prove that we can play in this league too. And they're coming out, on fire, at least early on. So there's really kind of no nights off in the East. Kind of like Big Ten basketball. You're going to go out there and you're going to have to fight all the way to the end.
I agree.
Speaking of the Kings, they made a deal as well. They made a deal with Indiana. Indiana got Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. The Kings got Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a 2nd-round pick.
Hey, Jeremy Lamb's still in the league. The Indiana Pacers probably won that trade because they got Buddy Hield and Halliburton. And Halliburton's a really good young guard, and he's gonna get those minutes. I think playing alongside Brogdon, or if they even still have Brogdon. I think Brogdon's hurt or something. But yeah, I mean they got Buddy Hield, but then Tristan Thompson. He can kind of make up for the rebounding that Sabonis didn't do, but you still have Miles Turner, so that should open up things for Miles Turner to thrive down low. So, and I mean the Kings. Justin Holiday, he's solid. He's a veteran though. He's getting up there in age. Sabonis is a nice piece to add along De'Aaron Fox, and Jeremy Lamb's a veteran guard as well. But they got a second round pick, so I guess that's good. But I mean, Sacramento's been like in a cycle too, where they just can't come out. They can't make the playoffs either. So I'm not much sure if that's going to make them any better. But Indiana definitely won that trade and definitely got better.
Agree with that. See if there's any of the other deals that went down.
There's a lot of deals. I'm looking at them now.
There's a lot more deals than I thought that I thought there was.
Like Eric Bledsoe got moved from the Clippers. The Clippers traded Bledsoe away for Covington to the Portland, and Norman Powell. Justice Winslow went to Portland as well. So yeah, Portland might be. Portland might be solid. Miami, did they do something? No, that's
not. There's a 4-team deal. You're probably getting to that one. 4-team deal with the Bucks, the Clippers, the Kings, and the Pistons. Big name in all of that was Serge Ibaka goes to the Bucks there. Mm-hmm. As we talked about the East and specifically the Central, that just keeps getting tougher up there.
Kings got Dante and DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles. The Clippers got Rodney Hood, solid swinger or swingman. The Pistons got Marvin Bagley, who I think is good. I was actually talking to somebody about that today, who's a Detroit Pistons fan, and I'm like, he just wasn't, he in Sacramento, it just wasn't a good situation for him. But I think he can thrive in Detroit, playing alongside, the guys they got there, Grant and whatnot. But yeah, Serge Ibaka, he's been hurt, but he's on Milwaukee's team now, so he can give them some spot minutes. Like he can hit some threes, he can swat some shots and give them some good energy. I think he'll be a good backup big, and he plays defense too. That's the thing. He plays defense, so
yeah.
If he can
stay healthy. The kind of guy that I would have loved to have seen the Bulls land. And then on top of that, another guy that was just like that, and you and I had kind of talked about this earlier, that Daniel Tice. Celtics got him back, and he's again just the kind of guy the Bulls. They got him last year at the trade deadline. He's exactly the kind of guy that the Bulls need this year. That bigger body off the bench that sets screens, rebounds. Can really kind of help guard the Giannis and Embiids of the world out there. He goes back to Celtics from Houston. In that
they never wanted to let him stay.
Yeah,
that's why Boston traded back for him. But
Boston is somebody who's looking. I know we're still kind of talking trades, but I don't want to forget because I was having a chat with my buddy Craig DeVries earlier tonight about how good the Celtics have looked here recently.
Have looked good.
So I want to make sure that, at some point during this that we, kind of talk about them and how they could potentially be, somebody who's going to make a lot of noise here in the East. Only other big deal I kind of see out there was Dallas sent Kristaps Porzingis
just pulled that one up. Washington
to Washington for Spencer Dinwiddie, Davis Bertans, and then the Wizards also get a 2022 second round pick as part of that deal.
Yeah, Kristaps, he hasn't really thrived in Dallas like I thought he would when he got him with Luke. I thought that'd be a Dirk and Steve Nash reincarnation, but it just never panned out. I think he can thrive in Washington, playing with Kuzma and Bradley Beal, and what's the other guy? Not everybody, other Wagner, but KCP, he got rid of Hero. So yeah, he can probably find his footing again in Washington. Remember Washington was actually pretty good this year. They jumped out to a pretty good start. So they got some nice pieces around them, and they'll probably be another team that's bottom feeder in the East, but they can sneak up and beat some teams as well. So yeah,
Yep.
but
Yeah, those are
I mean,
basically the big
yeah.
trades that went down, and obviously the Simmons Harden one was kind of the showpiece
Yep.
for this series for this season. The other piece that goes along with this, and the piece that a lot of Bulls fans have been kind of looking at, is the buyout candidates
Mm-hmm.
in there. There's a couple
Me
of
too.
guys that have already been, or not, a couple of guys that have been linked to the Bulls. Already. I've got a list of from NBA.com, 15 different guys that are potential buyout candidates in here. The name that keeps popping up for the Bulls is Goran Dragic, who's now with San Antonio. I don't know if I really see that fit.
I
Sam,
actually heard the Lakers.
you heard the Lakers? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the
Yeah.
Lakers for him and Tyreek Evans. I said Tyrese. Tyreek Evans. I heard the Lakers, but I could see Dragic going to the Lakers.
Mhm.
They need a point guard, and they have already benched Russ, and I mean they need somebody who can make plays. And Dragic, if he's healthy, he can contribute. Even if he's playing limited minutes, he won't turn the ball over and get the offense going. But yeah, I've heard that. I don't. The Bulls, maybe they were saying that because all the injuries we have, but guys are going to come back. Lonzo's going to come back. Caruso's going to come back.
Yep.
Zach's going to come back. We still
Zach
have
will be
another.
back first game after the All-Star game, they said tonight on
Yeah.
the broadcast.
Oh, they did.
So,
Okay. Yeah. I
yep.
just give his knees some rest, and I think they'll probably sit him out a few games here,
Yep.
in the second half of the season. Back to backs definitely sit him out, or one or the other, and just be smart about it. And they will with Zach. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Um, but yeah, and then obviously DeMar's kind of playing out of his mind. So I mean, more so maybe the Lakers, because Lakers need a point guard. That's kind of glaring. That's kind of the big thing. The Bulls, I want to see the Bulls get some size though. If we can get like a Deandre Jordan, any a Dwight Howard I don't know if Dwight Howard's gonna get bought out, but like any big man, like Sergi, I don't know if Ibaka would either. There's not really a lot of big man.
Yeah, the three I see
Canada.
from this article. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go
The
ahead.
three,
I'm
the three I would see out of this article are DeAndre Jordan, Derek Favors, and then Tristan Thompson, who we talked about earlier. They also list Paul Millsap, who went to Philly in that Harden deal, and Rolo Robin Lopez, with his history with the Bulls as well.
Wait,
Those
where's Robin Lopez at?
guys, but I think those first three would be the ones that I would prefer.
I didn't even know Robin Lopez was available, but if we can get him, that'd be good. That brings familiarity. And yeah, if he could back up Vucevic and stuff, and yeah, that'd be good. I think Paul Millsap's actually going to stick in Philadelphia because he could back up Embiid and he can get some minutes in that forward slot, and he brings a veteran presence to that second bench. I think he's actually going to play for them. Who was the other guy? DeAndre
Tristan
Jordan.
Thompson. Yeah, DeAndre Jordan would be kind of my number one guy, and Tristan
Yeah,
Thompson would be my number two.
yeah, I agree. Because DeAndre Jordan, he's not really playing that much for Lake. I don't know if the Lakers are going to buy him out though, but if they did, they probably because we had to sign him. I think like before a certain date for him to play in the playoffs. So I think there's like for buyout candidates. So if he does get bought out, that would be good for us. And then yeah, if worst comes to worst, Tristan Thompson's a good rebounder, and he's a good. He's not a rim protector, but he plays enough. He plays defense where he can come in, and that would be his role: just rebound, play defense, and stuff like that, and probably catch a few oops and stuff. And I think he'd be fine for us. He's always played well against the Bulls, so
Yeah, and basically for a second unit big man, that's all the
yeah.
Bulls really kind of need, because once
Mm-hmm.
everybody's healthy, knock on wood, you take Io and Kobe, you shift them to the second unit. That's where your scoring is going to come from, and then DeMar usually plays with the second unit too. Um, so really, you don't really have to worry about that on the second unit. You're really kind of more worried about getting the defense there on that second unit. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with getting a guy who's more of a banger than a scorer.
And the good thing about the second unit too for Io, he plays defense and he's young. So if you got the young guy playing defense, but everybody else is playing defense. This team, Caruso, they play defense. They bring that energy. So if you're not playing defense, you're not going to play and stuff like that. So if you get Jordan or Thompson, those guys are both defensive minded. That'd be big. and whatnot. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that'd be
that second unit. If everybody's fully healthy with P. Will back in the starting lineup, that second unit looks like Caruso, Io, Kobe, Javante Green, and then whatever big man that you want to plug in there on that second unit. And that is a scary second unit because
especially
they can
defensively
score, they can
because
shut you down.
Javante Green gets after it defensively too.
Yep. And him and I will bring that big kind of energy that if the first unit isn't producing or they're in all of a sudden they're in an 0 for 12, they haven't scored in 3 minutes kind of slump, you swap them all out, you do a wholesale change, get the energy on the floor and kind of pump that back up. So as long as everybody's healthy, that's the ideal situation. Now, knock on wood, we've got to get everybody there, but things are trending in the right way, so that's positive.
Yeah, I think DeAndre Jordan might be the most logical one. I think he could be a buyout candidate.
Mm-hmm. I know AK has talked about the personalities are he doesn't want to mess with the chemistry if he doesn't have to.
I agree
With that, which is why maybe Rolo might end up being the guy they actually do,
and that could be the
because you
safe
know that
option.
he's going to fit with this squad because of his personality. That's just kind of my thought on that. Yeah. So that's kind of what happened on the trade deadline and what could potentially happen here in the next week or so. I'm not quite sure when the buyout
I'm not
deadline.
even. I'm looking on the article now, and I can't. They're talking about the same guys you are going or DeAndre Jordan and Goran Dragic as buyout candidates, and what's this? Oh, Paul Millsap, but they're not saying the date. It's just it says it, but it does say that DeAndre Jordan is already being reports that he's going to be cut prior to the start of the beginning of the year or whatever. He's definitely like on the verge of being cut and being a buyout. So that makes sense. He's not playing for the Lakers, so cut him because the Lakers might be targeting a buyout candidate themselves. They want to free up a roster spot. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. While we're kind of at the halfway point here, wanted to talk about kind of the way things are around the NBA and kind of the way that things stack up now that we've kind of had the card shuffled a little bit after the trade deadline. Um, who do you see as a team on the rise? Who do you think is somebody who, maybe, obviously the Heat and the Bulls are kind of 1-2 there in the East, but is there somebody kind of in that 3 through 7 or 8 spot that you think could come up and potentially push those guys?
maybe the Nets when it all comes together for them, the Nets can be really, really, really good with KD and Simmons and Kyrie. I think that's going to be really good, especially even if Kyrie can't play road games. You still have a point guard and Simmons who can create offense. You still have Kevin Durant, and maybe Simmons can still get easy offense as well. The Celtics, I think, are kind of surging. They made some good moves. They brought back, Tice. They're probably in there. So I think the Celtics are probably a team that's kind of sneaking up. And then just a couple of years ago, the Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals, 2 years in a row or something like that, 3 years in a row, if I'm going to say correctly. So that's probably the team at the East. I think they can really sneak up. I guess the Nets can't sneak up because you already think the Nets are going to be good, but Boston can definitely sneak up and get that one of those top spots from the Bulls. They can sneak and get the top. They can sneak into the 2 spot or something.
Yeah. Yeah. The Celtics are actually 3 games ahead of the Nets, which I would not have guessed anecdotally before looking at the standings. The way that everybody kind of talks about them, they made it sound like the Nets were the ones that were kind of in that 6th spot that the Celtics occupy, and the Celtics were kind of a little bit further down, but the Celtics are actually 3 games ahead of Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference.
No, the Celtics made some good moves. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that's a formidable 1-2 punch. And then Marcus Smart, nice third. I mean, they have Al Horford who brings familiarity as well. They just bought Tice for defense. So yeah, Celtics are going to be tough. They have some other guys that are kind of stepping in and making plays like Grant Williams and Robert Williams. I'm sorry. And they defensively, yeah. And then their point guard was Shooter, who's kind of a pest too. Now they got rid of Shooter, but they can't remember who. I don't know who their guards are now because they got rid of Langford and whatnot. But and they still have Smart, but they're a team that they can give Brooklyn some problems in the playoffs.
Mhm.
I
What do you
mean,
think of
so
Toronto?
they didn't make any moves, but I like some of the moves they've done in the past, like when they got the guy from Portland, Gary Trent Jr. I think he's pretty good. And I think they're, a player or two away from being, I think, back in the conversation. I know they've had some injuries. They still got OG Anunoby, still got Siakam, but I think they're a couple pieces away from, getting back to where they were a few years ago.
Yep, I would say that's probably my assessment as well. Flipping over to the Western,
Yeah.
flipping over to the Western Conference, looking at those top six are Suns, Warriors, Grizzlies, Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, and then the next four after those are T Wolves, Clippers, Lakers, Blazers, in that order. Grizzlies, really like them. Obviously, I'm a big Ja Morant guy, so really like the Grizzlies. I'd like to see them, really kind of go far in the playoffs this year. The Warriors with Steph and Clay, are always tough out there. So the Mavericks are the team that seem to be the ones that I'm surprised they didn't do more at the trade deadline. Like Luka's great, but I feel like if you want to advance in the playoffs, you need one more option outside of him. He does a lot for them, but I feel like he needs a Robin to his Batman.
I agree. They brought in Dinwiddie, who's a point guard who can kind of help run the show. Maybe they're hoping they can slide Luka off the ball a little bit more. And then they got who else did they get? Did they get for Kristaps? They got Bertans, a shooter, and Bertans can get hot and he can hit some threes. But I agree, and that's kind of been their knock, and I think was why they ultimately could never get past the first round or so, just because they don't have enough around Luka. Luka kind of maxes himself out, and then like that's what ends up doing them in every time. I'm trying to pull up the roster now, because I'm not even sure who all they have now for the trade deadline. I'm still like, oh, let's wait for the dust to settle.
Let's take a look here. Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Dwight Powell, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith. He's okay. Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Brunson, Frank Nicolina, Theo Pinson, Reggie Bullock, Dinwiddie, Marquise Chris, Maxi Keebler, Davis Bertans, Boban Marinovic, and then Luka. That is the roster.
So they have Jalen Brunson still, who's another guard off the bench, and then they have Spencer Dinwiddie. So one of them will probably play alongside Luka. That they could probably create. Luka doesn't always have to have the ball in his hands. And they have a bunch of shooters. Hardaway can create a little bit. Bertans can shoot. Powell, he's athletic. He could big man roll into the basket. And Finney Smith's solid. He's scrappy. He's not really a shooter. He'll slash. So yeah, they'll be competitive, but getting got the first, I still don't. I agree with you. They need a true Robin. They don't really have a Robin. You're right. They have Luka, who's great. I'm saying phenomenal. Batman. What he's gonna do, but they don't have a Robin, and whoever his Robin is has to complement Luka. Like, doesn't play with the ball in his hand, doesn't need the ball in his hands, because Luka needs the ball in his hands a lot. And maybe
who would be good for them would be an Anthony Davis type.
Yeah.
Somebody who doesn't need the ball, and then Luka does so much damage on the perimeter that you have a big man down below that could get you 20 and 15 a night. That's the kind of guy that you want there. Obviously, they're not going to get him.
Even like a Sabonis would be good, because he could post up, and then you could run pick and roll with him, and he could shoot three, or he could roll to the basket, and Luka could find him, and Luka's good pat. So Sabonis would be great. Sabonis would probably give you 18 to 20, every given night, probably even more. I mean, him and Luka, he can average like 20 plus, and and 10 rebounds. And then if they had those other guys, then yeah, I mean, just somebody down low who can kind of bang. Um, Joel Embiid would be nice too because he's a big and whatnot. You can give the ball to him, slow the game down, and then you could run. You could pick and roll Embiid because Embiid can hit threes now. So you can pick. So you can get him a couple threes. You can get him. You can post him up. You can, you can go away from him and just use him as decoy and run. I mean, because he can still hit threes. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. Only other thing that's on the agenda, obviously, this weekend is All-Star Weekend. We talked about this last week on the All-Star Spectacular. Haven't heard of any big names bowing out or anything. Zach sounds like, according to the pregame broadcast tonight, Zach will participate in the All-Star Game festivities, but it's going to be in a limited role. So it sounds like he'll do the 3-point contest and play a couple of minutes in the game, but nothing heavy for that, focusing on coming back next week after that. Do you like the draft that they do, the fantasy draft?
I think we had this before, and it's a different way. It's trying to keep it interesting, so I get it. The way they used to do it before, that was so tedious, and that was so predictable. Yeah, I like it. It's something different. Different's not always bad. But it's different. Different.
I'm an old man. I'd rather see East versus West, but that's the old man. It's probably because I grew up watching those like Magic versus Isaiah, type things, where they just went at it constantly. And see the guys that you don't usually get to see.
Yep. And then they went from wearing their own jerseys, team jerseys, to the All-Star jerseys, and that went through its whole thing, and that's still going on. I actually would like to see them go back to their team jerseys. That would be pretty nice. Maybe throwback team jerseys or something. That would be pretty nice.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
And I know the other thing we talked about in the Slack channel too was pairing them up with their WNBA cohort.
They used to do that in the Shooting Stars. It used to be like a retired player, a WNBA player, but an NBA player. Yeah. I remember it was like Magic, Lisa Sparks, and somebody one year, maybe Derek Fisher, I think, in the Shooting Star. I can't remember. And then I've seen that before too. Mm-hmm. That'd be pretty sweet.
One year was like Candace Parker and somebody, and they just like ran away with it.
Yep.
Because Candace could have played in the NBA.
She could have. She was a beast.
Yeah. Speaking of beasts, I know that we don't usually talk college basketball, but what Kaelin Clark is doing at Iowa is
I saw
that shot she made against Michigan from like the half court line.
Court one, yeah. I think they stopped it. I can't when I was watching this to show me that. Like, if you're not watching Kaelin Clark, I'm like, oh my God, like she hit that? Like, yeah.
Yeah. When that's all over Twitter for like 2 days and is like on ESPN like all the time, it's a big deal. So I think she's only a sophomore, right? Well, I think Iowa's got her for another couple of years.
I'm not sure. I don't follow Iowa's women's basketball. I haven't been following Iowa men's basketball that much this year. I know I've been really bad on college basketball this year. I know it's Coach K's last year, and with everything going on, and I just have not been following college ball at all.
But I haven't really either. I popped on what game if there's two like top 5 teams playing each other, I'll throw that on in the background. But I don't, I'm not actively going out of my way to watch Marquette Villanova on a Thursday night.
Neither.
I'll get more into it at the end of the month when March Madness starts firing up. So
yep, I'll get in the form. I'll be ready.
Yep. Yes. Everybody filling out their brackets.
Yeah,
I'll be busted by the first weekend like always.
Yeah, I was pretty busted last year. Thank you, Illinois, but I got really. I mean, everybody got Ohio State. Illinois, man, all those teams lost last year. I remember I was getting ready to fly out to Montana and like seeing Ohio State lose before I even got on a plane. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. And then hearing everything, this team lost, that team. I'm just like, my bracket was schmutz.
Yeah, it's because we believe that Big Ten beats up on each other to get them ready for the tournament, but in reality, they're just beating up on each other. And then when they get to the tournament, they're just too beat down
to
to
do
go
anything.
forward. Yeah.
I agree.
All righty. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, Sam, before we
No.
check out?
Well, we can wait till I don't know when we can probably do a show after the buyout period is passed.
Yeah.
I think that's like a week or so after the All-Star game, but that'd be good to see, and then kind of give us time to see. Or it's probably gonna take more time to kind of see how all the new players are fitting in. So yeah, it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see how that unfolds.
The Bulls don't play an official game until I think they said next Thursday, so they've got like 8 days off on
Oh
the calendar.
wow.
So some time off here. So not a lot of games being played. So we'll probably take next week off. Week after that, we'll be back kind of seeing how things shake out. And obviously, if something major happens, we'll pop back in. But I think 2 weeks is probably a good point there to
Well, the
look at.
Bulls are playing the Kings tonight.
Yep, they're up 6 halfway through the third
Thursday.
quarter.
And then the last games are Thursday, and then Sunday, and then they'll start back again on Thursday. So they have a full week off.
Yeah.
Nice. Except if you're in the All-Star game, you're not really off, but yeah.
But I mean, the All-Star game's in Cleveland, so it's not like they're going far either.
It's in Cleveland? I didn't even know that. That's probably why they brought that Joakim Noah video from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody goes to Cleveland for vacation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly why they pulled that up. So so All-Star game's in Cleveland, so they don't even have to go that far. So my guess is probably, Zach probably flies in Saturday morning, leaves Sunday night, and basically gets the other 6 days of rest on there. So,
and
and then Io and DeRozan will be probably spending their whole time together. I like that Io's kind of went under DeMar's wing now.
That's a good person's wing to go under. I'm not, because that killer instinct, and Io's already kind of got that from Illinois, that closer role. That's only going to make him better. And then you see all those game winners DeMar has, just how DeMar will be called him a king of the fourth, which that's such a good nickname. That closer role, that's going to serve Iowa well in his career. I mean, you'd be young and getting that kind of experience and being around that kind of leadership. I'm not surprised. I mean, Caruso, NBA champion, DeMar, NBA veteran, Zach, star, Pat, second year, 4, high lottery picks. So, I mean,
Vuce, multiple-time All-Star.
Vucevic, All-Star. These guys have been in the league and made their bones. And then, you second-round pick, and you have that grit mentality, target on your back. So it's only going to serve him well.
And being there with Lonzo, who I'll fully admit about talking all kinds of crap about the whole Ball family. So that he's put up, he can tell them how to block out haters. So so plenty of good learning experiences on the Bulls there for the young guys. All right, cool. Well, that'll do it for tonight. Like we said, we'll see you again in a couple of weeks, but until then, stay safe out there, and we will see you next time.
Take care. Till next time.
See you, everybody.